All right, welcome to Talking Investing. I am Tom, and as always, this is not financial advice. Today, I want to do our daily Bitcoin and Bitcoin miner update. This is weekend edition. It is Sunday afternoon, so I want to catch everybody up for the weekend of activity so that we are ready for trading tomorrow. So if you're new to the channel or if you have not yet subscribed, please remember to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. Also, if everybody would do me a big favor and smash the like button, it helps out the channel a lot. I appreciate it. Lastly, in the pinned comment below, you will see a link to our free Discord. So we talk a lot about Bitcoin, the Bitcoin miners, and all sorts of other stuff. We get to go a lot deeper over on the Discord, obviously, than I do in these videos. So we'd love to have you join us over there. And again, it's free. Okay, I'm going to take a quick look at the big board, but obviously it is Sunday, so nothing has changed since we closed on Friday. But let's take a look at where everything ended the week. So you'll see that Friday was mostly a green day, although Thursday and Friday, we did have some stocks go way down on what was really a pretty good day for Bitcoin. So once again, Iris Energy was down 1.29%. Once again, Wolf was down on the day when mostly it's a green day, and it was down 5%. Wolf has been tanking, so this was a very rough week for Wolf. Mawson was down 8%. However, having said that, it was really a good day for Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners. Bitfarms was up 8.7%. Hive was up 10.5%. Bigger companies like Marathon and Riot, they were both up over 5%. So in general, it was a very good day for Bitcoin miners on Friday. However, we are starting to see a few miners that are falling behind and are not keeping up with the pack. So I don't want to spend too much time on that. Obviously, that hasn't changed in days, but that's where it's at. That's where we'll start Monday morning. So let's take a look at the Bitcoin chart on the 15-minute time frame. As always, there's an orange line right here when the market closed on Friday. So this is where Bitcoin was when the equity markets closed on Friday, and that line is at 21,250. So just at a glance on the 15-minute time frame, you can see we spent the vast majority of the weekend above this line. Our weekend low we hit in the middle of the day yesterday, and that was 20,900. So we got a little bit below 21,000, but basically 21,000 has held all weekend. And really, this orange line where we closed on Friday at 21,250 has basically held most of the weekend, including we just bounced off of this line about an hour ago. So this is not a super strong line of support, but this area is a strong line, and it looks like plus or minus 21,000 has been holding all weekend long, and that's an important line to hold. We're only just 8 days away from when Bitcoin crashed down to 17,567. So that was the low for 2022. That took out last year's low in 2021. So, that was an 18 or 20 month low. Since we hit this low, in general, you can see Bitcoin has been on the move on the way up. So that does not mean that this is the bottom and everything's up from here forever. But we're now 8 trading days into Bitcoin getting a little bit healthier and showing some signs of life. So I do believe, I'm just going to say right now, it's absolutely possible we go retest a few important lines. The first one is there's a line at 20,000. And actually, technically, this line's a little bit below 20,000. I have it at 20,000. That is a 4.5-year line of support. That was the high in the previous bull market cycle 4.5 years ago. So this little period of time right here, which was less than a day, we took out this line. That has never happened before in the history of Bitcoin. So people were very concerned that this was going to be something different and new and we were going to cascade downwards. Well, so far we're 8 days later and that has not happened. We very quickly got right back above this line. And when you look at the daily time frame, you'll see this line, in some ways, this line of support still has held. So on the 4-hour time frame, it gets a little more obvious. We're getting a little bit healthy for the moment. I want to go to the daily time frame. That's where I think we'll see the most information. So this is Bitcoin on the daily time frame. Here's this arrow that we just drew for the last 8 days. I'm going to get rid of that to clean this up a little bit. And you can see, essentially, if you guys remember, all of May through the beginning of June, we basically traded very sideways in a super tight range. And we had a line at around 28,800 that was holding strong for that entire month. We tested it repeatedly all month long. It did hold until it finally broke. And when it broke, we went right down to our next long-term line of support, which was at 20,000. So I just want to show you on the daily time frame, although for the first time ever, Bitcoin did go below the high from the previous bull cycle. You can see this was a one-day event. So we went below this line for one day. In this red candle, we got down to 17,567. And in the next day, this green candle, we finished back above this line of support. So for me, one day does not confirm a breakout to the downside. Any given thing can happen on one day, and we know some big things have been happening in the cryptocurrency world that are creating additional downward pressure. On top of the fact that for all of 2022, Bitcoin has had downward pressure, and we continue to take out line after support after line of support. However, I've been saying all years there's two major lines lines of support. One at 28.8, that held for a month, and then we broke out of that, and then this final line of support at 20,000. So at the moment, this does seem to be holding. However, we did flash crash below it, and it's absolutely possible we could retest those lows. There's a few other target numbers I have also below this in the event that we do break to the downside, but it does look, you can see, we clearly creeping up every day. This line right here is the 200-week moving average for Bitcoin. We are below that right now, so you can see we've spent over a week below this line. This is only the third time in the history of Bitcoin that it has been below its 200-week moving average. The two other times that this ever happened were in previous bear cycles. The last one was the March 2020 crash, and as you know, that was an extremely short period of time, and in that instance, not only did we run right straight back above the 200-week moving average, but we ran up to a Bitcoin all-time high within a year of that, so that was the beginning of a gigantic bull run. So we're not there yet. I'm certainly not calling that at all. However, the only two times we've ever broken below this line, what followed after that was a quick reversion back to the 200-week moving average, and then some of the biggest jumps we've ever had in the history of Bitcoin. So every cycle's different. This cycle is proving to be a lot different than previous cycles. So these are not tried and true tested concepts. You know, most of these things like this 200-week moving average, you know, we've only ever been below it 2 times. So that's a very small sample group. So we'll have to see what happens. I like to follow Bitcoin on the daily RSI and the weekly RSI. Those are the two that give us a little bit more insight as to where we're trending, you know, versus the day's action. You know, I'm not a day trader of Bitcoin or the Bitcoin miners. So, you know, I like to look at where we seem to be going, you know, over the short to midterm. You can see if I go to the beginning of this arrow, that was this period of time. We were absolutely sideways for this entire period of time. So if you look at the daily RSI, we were building momentum for the better part of a month. We went from extremely oversold up to, we tested 50 several times here at the top of this run. We got rejected. This was a 2-day test. We got rejected at 51. This was another 2-day test on June 6th and 7th. We got rejected again at 51. So for Bitcoin, most of the bull runs happen above 50 on the RSI. So we did spend a month gaining momentum to get all the way up to where we might start a bull run, and we just simply got rejected. And once we did, you can see we went all the way back down to even more oversold than we were when we started. I have identically copied this line and just moved it over here. So you can see at the moment, you know, this, while the action isn't identical, we do seem to be climbing up this same line again. So what I am looking for, and there is no guarantee of this, obviously, days events can change this at any time, but at the moment, I've been talking about this for several days, and we seem to be building the same type of price action, the same type of movement on the RSI, and the same type of price action that we had in this period of time right here. So I'm looking to see if we can duplicate that, make another run on the daily RSI at 50, and then we'll have to see if we get rejected again and start all over, or if we can break through and start to move higher. There's no guarantee that this is going to follow along this line, but it seems to be following along so far. Okay, we've also been following the MACD on the daily time frame. So we did have yesterday, Saturday, we had that bullish crossover we've been talking about for the last week and a half on the channel. So that did happen yesterday, and yesterday we had a green candle. We went green on the histogram, and today is another up day. The last time we had a bullish crossover, that run lasted almost a month. So we'll see how that lasts this time, but you can see we have a confirmation here, and we have gone green on the histogram. So again, this is all shaping up exactly like that May to June period. And remember, this was not an awesome period, so I'm not calling for a massive breakout. From May to June, we were basically sideways and up a little bit. You know, we were, I think, from the bottom of the flash crash to the top was, you know, not less than a 30% move in that period. And then obviously, once we hit resistance and failed, we did hit a new lower low. So none of this is a call for a giant bull run in Bitcoin, but I do think over the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, unless something unusual happens, I feel like we're trending in the right direction. So I'm going to keep watching this and see if this pattern keeps playing out the way that it is right now. All right, I just want to talk about the fear and greed index for a minute, because something's happened on the fear and greed index that has never happened before. Now, the crypto fear and greed index is only 4.5 years old, so that's not a long track record. However, this last week was the worst week we've ever had on the crypto fear and greed index, and it was the worst week by far. So I want to dig into that just a little bit because I do think it's relevant. And we are moving back in the right direction. You'll see yesterday and today we were at 14, which is still extreme fear. We should almost have a new category, extreme fear, which is under 10, because there's only been a handful of days in the 4.5 years that this measure has existed where we've gone under 10. This was on June 19th. You can see we were at 6 on the Fear and Greed Index, and the previous day we were at 6. We have never had 2 days at 6 in a row in the history of the Fear and Greed Index. However, it's even a much bigger outlier than that. This is a graph of the Fear and Greed Index over the last 3 months. So I just want to show you dating back to, on June 14th, we were at 8. So that is under 10. That was 1 day. We then went to 7, and then 7 again, and then 9, and then we had 6 on June 18th, 6 on June 19th, then we popped up to 9 on June 20th, and 9 on June 21st. That is 8 days under 10 on the Fear and Greed Index. We have never had 2 days in a row under 10 on the Crypto Fear and Greed Index. So this is not just a little bit of a record. This represented max fear by far over the last 4.5 years for cryptocurrency. So that is a historic run on the Fear and Greed Index. We popped back up to 14, which given the last few weeks seems like a good number. However, that is historically low. So this is a lot of evidence to point towards this was at least a local bottom. We have never had fear at this level in the cryptocurrency world. And we know there's several reasons for that. Between the Terra Luna situation, the Celsius situation, the 3 Arrow situation, which is affecting Voyager as well. There's a lot of fear and there's a lot of current events going on right now. However, we do seem to be stabilizing and coming out of that. So just to show you a quick graph, I drew a line at 10 on the Fear and Greed Index. This is the chart of its entire life. So this is the last 4.5 years. So you can see this blue line. There's only been a few days in the history of this chart that have been under this blue line. And there's only been one other time in its history, and that was in March of 2020, where it had several days under the line. Now, they were not in a row. It was popping above and below 10 on the Fear and Greed Index for about 6 days. So that rivaled this in some ways, but this was actually much worse. This was 8 straight days well under 10 on the Fear and Greed Index. So, okay, so the last number I'm going to give you, just as a reminder, is this is Bitcoin on the weekly time frame. So again, this is the 200-week moving average. Now, we've never spent more than 2 or 3 weeks under this. We've only ever been under it 2 times in its history. So we did go under this last week. We stayed under it all week this week. So I would expect a break to the upside if history is any indicator. Now, we've broken a lot of records here in Bitcoin, so I would not also be surprised to see if we don't get back there. But the only 2 times we've gone under this line, we did get back above the 200-week moving average in a fairly short period of time. So I've drawn this box right here, which is about 2 months worth of time, and I've got a line here at 15,700. That would represent a 30% pullback from the 200-week moving average. That is what happened the only other 2 times that we went below this moving average. And again, it happened very quickly and moved right back above the 200-week moving average in a short period of time. So the further along this line we get, the less and less likely in my mind we are to hit this price target of 15,700. So that is my price target to the downside. My disaster scenario, my crypto winter scenario would be a full 85% pullback from the all-time high. That would be 10,350. I have that line on here. I'm not really talking about it yet. There's been no indication in my mind that we're heading towards that line based on the last few weeks of activity. So for me, I'm looking to see if we can get back above the 200-week moving average. So can we hold above $20,000, because that's our 4.5-year line of support. And again, we did dip below that for 1 day. And then from there, can we break out back above the 200-week moving average, which is sitting somewhere at around 22,500. So I will continue to look at those 2 things. The weekend so far has been reasonably healthy. We'll just finish out by taking a quick look at the 15-minute time frame, and you'll see we are holding mostly above this line where we closed on Friday. This is not necessarily a line of support, so I don't know what will happen overnight tonight, but the more important line is we've been basically holding above around 20,900, and so that's where I'm looking to hold to see if we can continue our momentum upward. So that's all I got for you on Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners. Hope everybody's enjoying your weekend, and we will see you tomorrow for trading. If you made it this far, remember to subscribe to the channel and smash the like button. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.